Hi, so in this video I would like to go over some of the options or tools that we have under the Edit Mesh menu. Now this video is mainly for people who are just getting started with using Maya or any 3D program. So I'm going to go over some of the tools that you can find under Edit Mesh. First I'm going to go over, let's say I'm going to go over these three tools, and the first one, of course. I'm going to show you the most basic use of the tools. There are more advanced things that you can do with some of the tools, but for this video, because it's for really people who are just getting started with 3D programs, I'm just going to go over the basic use of most of these tools. Alright, so in order to show you how the tools work, I'm going to go ahead and create an object. So if you go to create, let's make a polygon primitive here. I'm going to let's create a cube. I'm going to have interactive creation disabled, just so that my cube is going to be exactly in the origin of the grid. I'm going to press 5 so I can see my shaded mode. Alright, so let's go over the first tool that we have under the Edit Mesh menu. So the first thing that we have, if you're using Maya 2014, you're going to see that it says, the first one says Show Modeling Toolkit. So if you click on that one, this is going to open up. Basically the modeling toolkit is just some of the tools that you can find under Edit Mesh, and they appear on the side. Of course there's other things that you can do with the tools that appear in this area, and there's some differences between some of them and the ones from the Edit Mesh menu. But since this is almost a complete, I wouldn't say interface, but a complete set of different tools, I'm not going to go over those for now. So I'm going to continue with the Edit Mesh menu. So the first one, I'm going to count this as the first one, as it is for almost all other packages or Maya packages besides 2014. The first option is going to be keep faces together. To see keep faces together in action, we first have to use the Extrude tool. So basically, to use the Extrude tool, you can either be on object mode or face mode, and edge mode as well. It does not work with vertex mode, but basically let's go ahead and use it with object mode. So if we go and click on Extrude, so this is what it's going to look like. It's going to highlight pretty much all the faces of the object. Right now we are extruding our object in object mode. You're going to see that we're not going to see a big difference in what happens. So basically, you can either use the, these little options menu here for different things, but most of the time I find that I don't really use them. But of course you can use them by just clicking on it and dragging, and you can see what those things do. And in this case, it just makes it the extrusion bigger here for the object, and it may look like you're just making the object larger, but there is an extrusion going on here. So if you zoom in, you can see that the original square is still right there, the original cube. So most of the time you're really not going to use the Extrude tool when the object is in object mode. Most of the time you're going to use it when you're using edge mode or face mode. Set this one back to 0, and you can just type a number as well. And again, you can try some of these as well. And as you can see, divisions, these are not going to show much because we're using object mode. And again, as I said, you don't really want to use Extrude under object mode, but I just wanted to show you in this case. So I'm going to undo that. Ctrl Z. Okay. So now let's go into face mode and try to extrude a face. So if you go to edit mesh and extrude, and again you can use the thickness one, which is going to offset the, which is going to make the face go outside or move. And it's the same thing as using the arrow that you get here. As you can see, you have arrows, you can move them up to the side. Basically, thickness is doing what this does. As you may notice, there's also cubes for our manipulator. So if you click on one of those, you can see that there's an extra one here, which means that's going to scale the whole thing. But if you just want to use this one on the sides, just going to scale it on that direction, as you can see. This was not going to do anything because there's only one face. So basically that is what an extrusion is. It's basically extruding a face so that you can get more geometry to work with. Alright, now let's try to extrude an edge, see what happens. So if you try to select this edge, and if you go to edit mesh, extrude, get that out, and it's basically the same thing as extruding a face, but of course you only have an edge here, which is a single-sided face. Most of the time when you're going to be extruding edges, you want to connect them so that you can close the area. So that is the most basic use of the extrude tool. But now we can actually see what keep faces together does. So when you're extruding, you can select as many faces as you want. I'm going to select this face and I'm going to hold down shift and click on this one so I can have two faces selected. And as you can see, if I go to edit mesh and extrude, use the handle. Again, you don't necessarily have to use this handle. If you press W, you can use your general manipulator. So as you can see, when you extrude these, the extrusion makes it so that the faces here are connected. So if I move this one, they're connected. These two faces are connected. But if we select this again, and we disable keep faces together, and now it is disabled, and we go to extrude, notice what happens. There is a gap between the two faces, and usually if you, let's undo, if you just use your normal manipulator and you just move that out, you're not going to notice that gap. So you might think that faces are actually connected, but if you move this one, the gap's still there. So that is something that you have to watch out for. Make sure you don't have any gaps there, and then you realize that you may have some geometry problems. So that's basically what keep faces together does. It works in conjunction with the extrude tool, and it has its usability. You can use it for many things. Okay, going to delete that face. Alright, so now we have to go over. I'm going to make sure to enable and keep faces together back again. Most of the time I have it enabled. So the next tool here is going to be our bridge. So basically our bridge tool, I'm going to show you how it works. Before I do that, I'm going to move this out. I'll probably do an extrusion since I'm here. To rotate it, move it out. Okay, so basically the bridge tool works if you have two separate objects, say something like this. Although at the moment they're one object, so in order to use the bridge tool, it must be one object. You must have one object. Do not select two objects that are separate. So basically, I'm going to show you the usability of it. I'm going to double click the gap right there, and if I go to bridge, just click on it, it connects this piece to that piece, and that is the most basic thing that you can do with the bridge tool. Notice that there's a few things that you need to know about the bridge tool. First, you need to know that it only connects the same amount of edges from one side to the other. So let's say that I had another edge on this object, this piece of the object. Don't worry about how to add an edge right now. I'm just going to show you. Say this one has more edges than this side that need to connect. If I double click on those, and if I go to edit mesh and bridge, I'm going to get an error from Maya. It tells me that they require the equal number of border edges for it to bridge. I'm going to undo, and now if we bridge, it should connect two pieces. Notice that you may not want as many divisions or extra edges when you bridge your object. So basically, that is some of the options for the bridge tool are going to be under the channel box, which is this area right here. As you can see, it's right here. It's open as poly bridge, and if you only go back to that, it's always going to be here under inputs. It's going to be right there, and there's a few options here, not many, but just a few. Usually the curve type is set to linear, and you can send that to blend or curve. So you can see blend kind of blends it tries to create a curve as opposed to linear. And if you want to reduce the divisions, you can just say to 2 or 1 or whatever number fits the type. So you can see the changes or differences between those curve types. And you can play with a twist, which creates a twist, obviously. But that's the most basic application of the bridge tool. It's just connecting two pieces together. So whenever you need to connect two pieces together, you can just use the bridge tool. But aside from just using the bridge tool, there's another tool that you can use. That's our next one, which is Append to Polygon tool. So to use the Append to Polygon tool, you need to have two pieces. So let's say I didn't want this gap, and I just want to fix that. To delete those two, and I'm going to use the Append to Polygon tool to fix the gap and connect these two. So let's go to Edit Mesh, Append to Polygon tool. Just click on it, and they even give you a hint there as to how to use it. So basically, you just need to click on one edge and then the other edge, and it's going to create a face. So I'm going to click on this one. I prefer to click as close to the center as possible. And then we click on this one. And as you can see, it creates a face. And if you press enter, it's right there. So we can go back to Edit Mesh, Append to Polygon tool, and fix the gap here. Press enter. And do the same with the other one right here. Press enter, and we fixed the gap. We connected those two together, and we could have done the same thing with when I used the bridge. Same rule applies. You can use the Append to Polygon tool, connect one to here, one to here, or you can use the bridge tool, whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to stop the video here for now. So we went over this pretty much 3 tools and the key faces together. So that's the most basic application of how to use these. Of course, they do have more options that I didn't go over. Not too many options, of course, just a few. But I think that most of the time you're just going to use the most basic application of the tool.